Welcome everybody to this month's Sports Psych session for Fire FC. My name is Nick Gumpert. I'm the Club Education Coordinator. Voices affect choices. Wanted to bring this topic up because all of us are affected by the voices that we surround ourselves with. But before we get into the content, I first wanted to ask you this. What is a mentor? And as you answer that question, my follow-up would be, who can be a mentor for you? Might it be a parent? Might it be an older sibling? Might it be a teammate that's the same age? Might it be a teacher? Could you have a mentor in a space that isn't one-on-one individually? Might it be someone you listen to a lot, someone you read about because you like their work as an author? Is it somebody you watch on the internet or within certain spaces that you can get access to their content? I think that's such an important question to ask ourselves this day and age when it's so important to intentionally surround yourself with voices that can positively affect you. And in the same right, unfortunately, we sometimes surround ourselves that can negatively affect us. Just as important though, as it is to find mentors, it's just as important, if not more important, to be a mentor. So think about that one. Who might you be a mentor for? Might it be a younger sibling? Might it be there again for a teammate who's the same age, they just haven't told you yet? Might it be for a classmate, a friend who has a different home dynamic and they lean on you and they look up to you to say, wow, that's what it could be like. It's important to be that mentor for other people. So I'll leave you with this before we delve into the content today. You are uniquely qualified to best serve the person you once were. Let me say that again. You are uniquely qualified to best serve the person you once were. What does that mean? Well, for me, give you a personal example. In high school, I got like a 3.2, 3.3 GPA. I was happy with that. My parents were happy with that. So what does that mean? You got mostly B's, a couple A's thrown in there, right? I went off to my first semester in college. I had 4 classes in my first semester, not a heavy workload as a college student. I played soccer as well, had a part-time job, but started with just 4 classes. Ended up getting 2 C's, a D, and an F. And let's be honest, that's not good. That's not good work. That wasn't a reflection on me and who I had been up to that point in time. And now I had to own that story. I had to own that situation. Fast forward a year, and I had to take 8 classes to retake a couple of those classes. I ended up with a 3.6 GPA, meaning a mixture of B's and A's, right? That's what I knew I was capable of. Fast forward a year past that, I got straight A's. So I am most uniquely qualified to best serve the person I once was. I can relate to that individual that did pretty good and then just absolutely fell off a cliff and then came back from that. And our ability to come off a cliff varies, right? It might be your priorities change, your home life changes, your fill in the blank, right? That part doesn't matter as much as how do you respond to what just happened in that situation. So again, as you continue to go through your personal journeys and your lives, be mindful of how you can best serve the person that you once were. Being intentional. I want to take the next about 30 minutes talking about these 3 topics. Being intentional, overcoming those negative voices, and how we get on the fast track to change. Want to really delve into these topics, but more importantly than just sharing ideas, I want to make sure we take techniques. So I don't care if you're 11 years old listening to this, watching this right now, or if you're 18 years old, it's going to be able to apply to you. And you're going to be able to walk away with not just maybe some new ideas, but saying, I can do that. I can do those few techniques and apply them today if I so choose. Let me start you with this question. Would you recommend yourself as fill in the blank? Would you recommend yourself as a friend? Would you recommend yourself as a son or a daughter? Would you recommend yourself as a classmate? Would you recommend yourself as a teammate? I think these are such important questions to reflect on because this day and age, it's so easy to just judge other people and say, well, she's not that good at this and he's not good at that. What about you? How do you stack up in the big scheme of things? Do you have enough self-awareness to say, I don't stack up? And this is where I'm coming short. And now how close can you get to improving? Because a follow-up question to would you recommend yourself as fill in the blank is what are the most important characteristics to be a good teammate? What are the most important characteristics to being a good son or daughter? Right? And then think about, okay, do I convey those things? Do I do those things? And if you do, now your challenge is, can you continue to do those things day in and day out? The older you get, because I can guarantee you, the harder it will get. You're going to have more distractions. You're going to have different priorities. Can you be consistent with that? And for those of you that answer that with yeah, I'm far off from being a good fill in the blank. Now, what might you need to tweak? Just take one or two things. Focus on those one or two things to be intentional with those couple of things. And now you're on the path to change. And now it's on purpose versus on accident. The number one habit that you should be absolutely obsessed with mastering as you continue to get older is the habit of showing up. Every single opportunity that has ever come my way has stemmed from that one habit. Again, that habit of showing up. I mentioned this in a prior session, I know, but it's worth repeating here. And that is the best of the best. Not just in soccer, not just in sport, in any profession. The thing they figured out is that being consistent doing the things that they don't want to do when they don't feel like doing it is how they get really, really good over time. Let's take a player from both genders. You got Caitlin Clark on the women's side, phenomenal basketball player, right? And I'm not saying it's easy to put in the time, but I'm saying when you're in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it's easier to put in the time to get really good because you don't have a job, you don't have bills, you don't have significant others in that space, right? So it's easier to manage your time to say, I really want to dedicate so much time into becoming really good at this one thing. You look at her now, again, phenomenal player, right? But her dynamic has changed. She's a professional athlete. She has endorsement contracts. She has different friends. She can drive. She's probably got her own house or on her way to getting her own house, right? Meaning there's going to be days she wakes up and says, I don't want to do my training regimen as much anymore. But let's be honest, she does it. And that's why she continues to be a very, very good player and an impactful player, right? Let's take an example on the men's side. You got Lionel Messi, right? The guy hasn't always had a family. So now he has 3 kids. I can promise you he wakes up certain days saying, I don't feel like going to training. But he goes to training because he knows that's how you become really good and you sustain that really good for long periods of time. So just be mindful as you choose to navigate your certain situation, are you willing to commit to what you don't want to do when you don't feel like doing it, right? That doesn't mean you don't enjoy it, you do. You just have other priorities and other things that want to take your time. Can you still prioritize being really good to the thing that you said you wanted to be really good at? Something to be mindful of. The other thing to be mindful of is sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice to become really good at something? Is it your time? Is it the people you hang out with? And it's like, I can't hang out with them as much because I need to dedicate more time into this one thing, right? So be mindful of what those sacrifices are, but also know these 2 things about sacrifice. One, it is a prerequisite to being good at anything that you want to get good at. It's not brownie points that you sacrifice time so you're going to be able to skip the line. That is a prerequisite to getting good at anything that you say you want to get good at. And number 2, it's always a choice. There's nobody forcing you to get good at anything. Well, unfortunately, maybe for some of us, there are those voices that say you have to do this. But as we get older, sacrifice becomes a choice. You don't have to be great. Greatness lies within you if you choose to bring it out and choose to show and share that. But you don't have to, right? Sacrifice is a choice. But what isn't a choice, what we will always experience and go through is pain. Here's what I mean by that. You're either going to experience a lot of pain on the beginning of your journeys through the preparation, through the sacrifices to get where you want to get, or you're going to have the pain of regret on the end of your journeys saying, I should have done more. I could have done more. I regret that I didn't do more. And it's also going to be a regret of I just didn't get what I thought I was going to get. So it's up to you on when you experience that pain. Do you want to experience it at the beginning or do you want to experience it at the end? There again, it's your choice. We have 4 seasons to the year. I like to call these separation seasons as well. In Colorado, you have your playing seasons, right? And pretty normal, being the fall and the spring seasons. Your separation seasons, it's when you're not playing as much. It's that winter and summer time frame. We just got done with the separation season, right? So it's these windows. It's these windows that if you're behind, maybe you're that player that made the bump this year from United to Premier and you're just like, I got some work to do. You've got a separation, or you had a separation season in front of you to put in that work and say, how quickly can I close this gap that's in front of me? Or if you're a very good player, it's how much separation can you create between you and the others, but more importantly, between you and where you were this time last year to say, how can I grow that gap as quickly as possible? It's by maximizing and being intentional with your time to grow that gap within these separation seasons. So for those of you that weren't able to or just chose not to take advantage of this most recent separation season, good news for you. You see separation moments throughout each given week. Let me give you an example. You've got Friday nights. You don't need to dedicate 5-6 hours to training and becoming better at something, but can you dedicate 30 minutes to be intentional with your time to say from 5:30 to 6, this is my window. I don't have distractions. I'm not going out with friends. I'm not texting with friends. This is me versus me, right? On a Friday night, and can that be your routine? That's just who you are, right? That is an opportunity for you to continue to grow that gap week by week, month by month, year by year. Maybe it's a Saturday morning. Maybe you're that morning person. They're just like, you know what? I'm going to go out on a run, or I'm going to go get my workout in at 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. when everybody else is sleeping. Because you're going to close that gap, or you're going to make that gap a little bit bigger, week by week, month by month, year by year. You also have periodically throughout the year, holidays, right? Holidays are times that a lot of people, if not everybody, takes off, right? Which is fine, but make sure you don't turn that holiday into a holiday. Let me give you an example. Here in a couple months from now, you're going to have Halloween fall on a Thursday. Make sure you don't start on that Monday saying, I'm chilling. I am chilling and doing nothing this whole week. Because the hungry ones, they're going to start inching up closer to you. For the ones that are just as good as you, they're going to start inching up above you. Again, sacrifice is your choice. Just be mindful, if you want to be really good at something, you can't sacrifice a holiday and turn that into a holiday. Fast forward a couple more months, you got Christmas. A lot of people don't just turn that holiday into a holiday, they turn that into a month. They take the whole month off. Again, that's almost a season in and of its own, the month of December, right? That's a brilliant opportunity to say, I know a lot of people are resting. I know a lot of people are taking it easy. This is my time to close this gap or even to accelerate past them. And let's see where we're at on the other end of this new year, right? Recognize these moments. And let's loop this back into today's topic of voices affect choices. What do the voices that you choose to surround yourself say about that Saturday morning run? Do they encourage you to go on it, or do they try to discourage you from going on it? Very important, because it's going to be super hard to stay committed to things when you choose to be around people and around voices that don't support those vested interests, right? Do they support you doing your Friday evening workout? Or are they the ones to say, hey, what time are you doing that? I'll join you. Or are they just trying to convince you, hey man, it's Friday night. You don't have to do anything. Again, it's going to be hard, right? What are the voices that you choose to surround yourself say about the holidays? Are they those friends that want to turn holidays into holidays? It's going to be super difficult to be very, very good at things. It's that much more difficult to fight through, right? Especially if they want to turn that holiday not into just a holiday, but a holiday month, and they're always giving you a bad time for you not doing the same. So again, be mindful of the choices you surround yourself as we see these separation seasons and moments come and go week after week, month after month, year after year. Don't underestimate the value that 5 minutes can bring you. We have 1,440 minutes in every single day. So you might be dismissive and be like, 5 minutes is nothing. It's something if you're intentional with it. Let's give this example. You commit to doing something 5 days a week for just 5 minutes. You got 25 minutes in. Are you with me? You do that for a full month. That's just over an hour and a half that you were super intentional to get better at that one thing. You fast forward a year, that's just under 20 hours of intentional work simply by committing 5 minutes, 5 days a week to that one thing. Now, if you say 5 minutes, I can do 10 minutes and be intentional with it. Now you can double that. Now at the end of it, you're seeing almost 40 hours of intentional work over the scope of a year. You can't convince me you can't get better over 40 hours of being intentional. You can't convince me you're not going to get a little bit better by being intentional with 20 hours of work over a full year. Don't underestimate the value of what just 5 minutes a day can do for you. What you allow in your life will continue to happen in your life. We can blame, we can complain, we can boast about ourselves, and we can post about other people. But nothing is going to change until you change something in your life. Here's what I mean by that. Have you ever had a situation that just popped off on a weekend? A friend texts you about another friend that something happened to, and all of a sudden you're just in your phone for 10 minutes. You're just wrapped. That's your world for the next 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes though doesn't stop there. It continues to build for a couple hours. You guys are still talking about the same thing. Those couple hours turn into a full day. That full day turns into a full couple of days. Those couple of days turn into a week that you're still bringing back that same story that just happened about another friend. Here's the dangerous part of that space and that place that you choose to live in. It's the past. It's like watching the same movie over and over, and it's going to be the same ending. You're talking about the same thing. Nothing's changed. What the problem there is that so many other people choose to dismiss the future. They dismiss the other things going around them because they're so worried and busy about talking what happened now a few weeks ago, turns into a month ago, and they're still focused in that space. That's a dangerous place to live. So for those of you that say, Nick, what's the alternative? The alternative is let the past be the past. Let it live there and let's move on. How are we going to react from that? How are we going to move on from that? Because that you can influence. You can't influence the past anymore. So just be mindful of not getting too caught up into it. Papa João, brilliant man that I had the opportunity to meet when I played in Brazil back in the mid-2000s. And he really hit home for me in having perspective when it came to the prior scenario that I just shared with you. Let me give you an example about me in a situation. I was in Brazil. I was on my cell phone and I was beside myself. I was super stressed out at the time. And he said, Nick, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, yeah, hold on. He said, Nick, it'll just take a minute. Can you put your phone down, please? I said, yeah. So I put my phone down. He says, Nick, the only undefeated thing on this planet is time. And when it's your time, nobody's going to care how many social media followers you had. Nobody's going to care how much money you did or didn't have. They're going to ask themselves two questions when it's your time. And that is, what kind of person were you? And how did you make me feel? So let me ask you a question, Nick. Would you recommend yourself as a friend? Sound familiar? And as I'm about to respond to him, he says, you don't need to tell me. You just need to know that answer here. He went on to say, Nick, I have one daughter. And when it's my time to go, it's going to be her responsibility to write up in just a few paragraphs and summarize my life. He said, think about that. 67 years on this planet, and we get a few paragraphs. That's all any of us gets. And he ended with this. He said, so whatever's stressing you out, it really doesn't matter. If I could summarize that situation in one sentence, it would be this. Don't let those things that don't matter that much, matter that much. Let me say that again, but substitute things with people. Don't let people who don't matter that much, matter that much. Right? I think so many of us get bogged down in situations that in the big scheme of things, it doesn't even matter. But we spend so much time consumed by it. We put so much energy into it, and it's draining. So just be mindful that when you catch yourself going down these rabbit holes, think of Papa João and his message of things really don't matter as much as sometimes we think they matter. There are going to be people that just don't like their life that much, right? And I don't know why, but what I do know is that they like to bring other people with them a lot of the time. And if you're one of those unfortunate people that they get a hold of, you can guarantee that they will keep you from pursuing the best version of your life. You see, when you grow, they crumble. They don't want to see somebody who's going somewhere while they're going nowhere. And I put this chameleon on this slide because they're like chameleons. They'll morph and they'll change based on the environment to try to fit in, to try to get on people's good side. And then maybe a few weeks in, you start to talk with them a little bit more and they're like a totally different person, right? Can any of you relate to that? I think that's a very challenging space and place to be as we get into this section of how do we overcome negative voices. Number one, you have to be very wary of the disguises that they can put on themselves, right? And just be mindful that keep your distance. When you sense something, you're probably not wrong in sensing it. Keep your distance and let yourself feel things out versus dive right in. Can you relate to these friends whose problems become your problems? That when they feel miserable, you feel miserable. Mindsets are contagious. There's no doubt about that. Mindsets can be contagious 100%. But let's take it a step further. Have you ever not shared some of the good things happening and going on in your life just because you don't want to make somebody else feel uncomfortable? that's a frustrating space to live in, right? To feel like, God, I want to share that, but I know they're going to get mad because they always talk about this and they always downplay certain situations. Well, I'm here to remind you, you don't deserve to live a life of unhappiness when there are reasons to be happy that are in front of you every single day. Let me say that again. You do not deserve to live a life of unhappiness when there are reasons to be happy and they're in front of you every single day. Look, it's hard. It's hard to have friends that hold you back. There's no doubt about it. And it's hard to separate those friends that hold you back. No doubt about that. So choose your heart. Just make sure you're not waiting for some easy decision to pop up to say, whew, that was a simple one to get out of. And if you choose to hang on to those friends that are holding you back, make sure you own that decision because nobody's forcing you to stay with those friends. You might make up an excuse to say, well, Nick, they're going to talk trash about me. They're going to say this about me. They're going to say this to these friends about me. You know what? Again, don't let those things that don't mean that much. In the moment, it feels like a lot, and I'm with you on that. I've been there myself. But what I can also tell you is the people that choose to separate from the people that hold them back, the one thing they, most all of them have in common is they tell themselves, dang, I should have done that a long time ago. Yeah, it was hard in the moment, but wow, I am in a different place now, and it's a much healthier space to be in. Mentally, it's healthier. Physically, I just feel better, and I'm not around that negativity. Are you with me? So choose your hard when it comes down to it. Have you ever been here? Been alone? At your house? At a friend's house, maybe? Maybe you're at school. Maybe you're at a parent's work. You're just alone and you're just thinking. Let's get more specific. Have you ever been in a space where you're by yourself, you're just thinking, and you're unhappy? And you don't even know why you're unhappy. Maybe it's because it's stemming from other people being unhappy. And when you find yourself in this thought, I challenge you to change your mindset to thinking this. I refuse to be unhappy because somebody else is unhappy. That is a choice that you make, that we bring a lot of other emotions in, but I'm challenging you right now, push that out and tell yourself, I refuse to be unhappy because somebody else is unhappy. Don't let other people pull you back into a past that you've outgrown. As you continue to build these building blocks that you have for yourself mentally, you're going to outgrow people based on those situations because they're going to stay stuck in the past. Don't let people pull you back into a past that you've outgrown. How do you do that? Be intentional with your time. Be intentional with the people that you choose to surround yourself. Be intentional to be around people that grow. Be intentional to be around people that want to just be better, period. And as you continue to get into these new levels, know this, each new level of life requires a new level of you. As you continue to grow and get better and improve, great, you made the first team. Now, what's that next level look like for you? Continue to pursue that next level. Not to say you should never be satisfied, but again, find that next challenge. Find that next thing that keeps that inner drive in you. Keep going forward, right? Keep going forward. Along your journeys, remember these three people. They're going to be very key individuals or groups of people to be able to say, are they worth my time based on these situations? The people who helped you during tough times, the people who ignored you during tough times, and the people who put you in tough times. Remember those three people as you continue your journeys. Now let's segue in to building techniques and finding techniques that can work, whether you're 11 years old, 16 years old, 23 years old, it doesn't matter. These are principles that can apply to you today. First one, change those you keep in your inner circle. For most of us, that's going to be 1 to 4 people. Don't kid yourself and think, but my social media following is X. Doesn't matter, it's irrelevant because those are not the people that you're really inviting over to your house or you're having those intimate conversations with to say, they know me. I'm talking about that inner circle. Might just be one best friend. That's normal. Don't think you're an outlier when you just have one best friend. Maybe you do have 2 or 3 close friends that they know you inside and out. Just be mindful, if you want to be on the fast track to change and those people are being negative and those people continue to hold you back and discourage you versus encourage you to put in extra work in something that really fires you up and fills your bucket, you need to change that inner circle. That doesn't mean you have to totally separate from them and never talk to them again. That just means maybe you spend less time with them. Number 2, don't blame other people. If you want to be on the fast track to change, you cannot blame other people. Have you ever heard, or has anybody ever told you, hey, things will get better. Hey, the older you get, things will get better. I'm telling you right now, that is a lie if you choose to blame other people. Because here's what happens when you blame. You relinquish the power to make changes yourself. You're now reliant on those people that you're blaming to change and to move in a direction that can then benefit you, right? So what's the alternative? The alternative is this. Go look in that bathroom mirror you have. Go look in that mirror that's in your bedroom or your parents' bedroom or in your hallway, wherever it is, and look at that mirror and ask, what can I do to make a positive impact? What can I do to make a positive change in my life? And now you take that power back. Do not blame other people for circumstances you are in, because you are the one that chooses to surround those people in the first place. You can't be the person you used to be and the person you're going to be at the same time. Yeah, maybe you can relate to this person. Yeah, you like mornings so much that you want to sleep in. But you can't then set the goal for yourself and say, hey, I'm gonna be that person that wakes up early and put in the extra work and close these gaps or make these gaps bigger because I'm one of the better ones right now on the team. You can't be those two same people at once. Are you with me? So if you want to be putting that work in the early mornings, you have to sacrifice the sleeping in. There's no way around it. Again, those are hard choices, right? You're sacrificing the sleep that you like so much, and it's hard to be good at something. It's hard to commit to something. So again, you cannot be the person you used to be and the person you're going to be at the same time. There has to be a give and a take. Every new level of life requires, doesn't ask, it requires a new level of you. If you want to know the path forward, talk to someone who's on their way back. That's where mentors can come in. That's where asking questions can come in. That's where just being curious comes into play. And know this, it doesn't matter how high you are right now, how high on life and how well you're doing, or how low of a low you are right now, you are always one decision, one conversation, and one moment from changing the rest of your life. That could be for the better, that could be for the worse. So for those of you that are listening to this right now and you're struggling, you're in a deep place, you're in a sad place, you are one conversation, you are one decision, you are one moment from changing the rest of your life, period. So do not throw in the towel, because you're one conversation away from moving your life in a completely different direction. Always remember that, regardless of how old you are and what situation you're in. Last but not least, move toward what you want, not away from what you had. You're going in the same direction, but it's completely different energy. Focus on where you want to go to next. Stop looking over your shoulder to say, are they catching up? Are they coming back for me? Be laser focused and go get what you want to get. Go get what you want to get. You might have watched or listened to those 5 things and say, Nick, I didn't really learn anything. Let me remind you of this. Sometimes we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. Less information, more action. Because you can't convince me that if you're doing those 5 things day after day, month after month, year after year, that you're not going to accelerate the rate of your change in your life. We're talking about getting on the fast track, not staying on the slow track, not staying on the same track as everybody else. How do you get on the fast track to changing your life for the better? Apply those things. Don't just know them, apply them and do them. So we talked about how to be intentional and what that entails. We talked about overcoming those negative voices, and not just ideas, but techniques for how we do that, and also how to get on the fast track to change. We went through those techniques today. Let me conclude with this. When you go to bed tonight, I want you to ask yourself this question. What will the 2029 version of you be most proud of? What will the 2029 version of you be most proud of? You got a 5-year head start right now. What is that one thing? Don't create a top 10 list. Don't create your top 3 to 5. Pick the one. Might that change over time? Sure. But choose one, because that's going to set you off in a direction. And it's going to set you off in a very intentional direction. Go get it. But what is that 2029 version of you going to be most proud of? If any of this content resonated with you, you can find me on YouTube at RealGump365. You can find me on Instagram, same handle, at RealGump365. You can also find me on Apple Podcasts. My podcast is called Mental, and it's just a very relevant, a very modern, short form. A lot of it is short form content to help youth this day and age because it's challenging to learn all these techniques in different sports, whatever sport you may play, without having that many mental skills being taught to you. But here's the reality. Those technical skills that you learn in whatever sport it is that you play and whatever it is that you do only apply for as long as you play it. Mental skills, they last a lifetime. So I'm just here to be a resource for you, for those you know, to help you build those mental skills. So hopefully it puts you in a different space, in a better place, long term. Here's what we've done at Fire FC so far to date in terms of these Sports Psych session series. Building your inner voice. Person is bigger than the player. Getting that order right. Building a champion's mindset. Performing under pressure. Stronger than yesterday. Chasing happiness. And today's voices affect choices. I've covered these topics so far. I now challenge any coach and parent watching this. Do not let these be the only moments and times your son and or daughters get exposure to these topics. How can you make this a conversation with your team off the field, coach? How can you make any and all of these topics a talking point and around the dinner table, parents? Right? Take it upon yourselves to continue these conversations and build off them. And now we're planting the seeds intentionally. Hey, our kids depend on us to do so. Last but not least, I've created a QR code here. If you wouldn't mind giving it a scan for those of you that are watching this, I would love to get your feedback. And again, if it resonated with you, I would appreciate a review of some kind. And most importantly, probably more than anything else, sharing it with that person that needs a difference in their life right now. We all need them at some point. So please give this a share for the person that you know can benefit most. Until next time, this is This Time. Thanks for watching and listening.